Delphian Realm. Unearthing the truth, one mystery at a time. Delving deeper and darker into the strange and unexplained. Happy Halloween.
Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of the Delphian Realm podcast, where we will be unearthing the truth, one mystery at a time. In this episode, we'll be exploring the darker side of Rennes-le-Château, a mysterious little town in the south of France. Hi, I'm Leslie Cottle.
And I'm Lilith Lindsley, and we are your hosts on Delphian Realm.
All right. Sounds cool. We have got a fantastic and creepy show lined up for you on the spookiest night of the year, Halloween.
Yay! Happy Halloween, everyone.
Hey! Lilith, what say you? Why don't you start off by sharing with the audience why we chose Delphian Realm as the name of our podcast?
Well, I'll be happy to. Also, I want to say happy Samhain, and I also want to say and wish Leslie a very happy birthday.
Aw, thank you. Thank you.
Delphian.
Why did we pick Delphian for a podcast name? Well, in the Collins English Dictionary, Delphian comes from the word Delphic, which means relating to an ancient Greek oracle at Delphi or Apollo's oracle. The word also means ambiguous, open to more than one interpretation. So as we move forward with every podcast, every episode, we see every topic having more than one interpretation. We also see ourselves as oracles, piercing the veil to expose the truth between the light and dark. So we found it fitting to bless this podcast with the name Delphian and added realm to encompass all mysteries, because after all, life is a mystery. Leslie and I will be covering a whole host of topics related to the paranormal, unexplained, spirituality, duality, forbidden mysteries, the French mysteries, Knights Templar, Mary Magdalene, Cathars, Grail Mysteries, Divine Feminine, Black Madonna, Goddess Worship, Fairy Folk, Watchers, and so much more.
That is a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
Well, we've got a lot to cover. But we're going to start off the show discussing a topic that is very near and dear to both of our hearts. And that would be a very mysterious little town in south of France called Rennes-le-Château. For those who haven't heard of it, it's been made famous by the book Holy Blood, Holy Grail, and also the film The Da Vinci Code, which I'm sure a few of you have heard about. It's a very magical place, steeped in legends and very bizarre mysteries and countless secrets, which we will be delving into a lot more in future podcasts. Before we get started, I wanted to pay tribute to someone who really doesn't get enough credit. And her name is Elizabeth Van Buren. You've probably never heard of her. She was an author and researcher, and she actually lived and owned the property now where the hotel is that we will be discussing, where all the magic happens. So while I was preparing for the show, I took out a book that she wrote that I absolutely love, called Refuge of the Apocalypse: Doorways into Other Dimensions. Rennes-le-Château, the key. And I started thinking, doorways into other dimensions? Really, Elizabeth? Was she trying to tell us something? So I took out the book, which I'm holding in my hot little hands, and I opened up the very first page of the introduction, And it reads, "Awake, O man, and contemplate the light, that the shadows seduce you not." A quote by Basile Valentin. Very, very interesting, Elizabeth. And I just wanted to read a very quick little excerpt from the next page. The affair of Rennes-le-Château has been much spoken of in the past few years. Many words have been written on the subject of the mystery, which is linked with the Templars, the Cathars, the semi-divine kings, who were called the Merovingians, the treasure of Solomon, said to have been buried close to this quiet little village in the Midi of France, and further back in time to the legends of King Arthur and the Grail quest. Certain authors who have been recognized that this mystery can never be explained in what is termed a purely rational manner have been accused of abusing the credulity of their readers. However, the truth regarding Rennes is far more fantastic and wonderful than the skeptics could possibly ever imagine. My love, Elizabeth. Okay, on with the show. We're going to be focusing on something that is rarely ever discussed. And we've actually been warned not to talk about this publicly. So what are we going to do? We're going to talk about it publicly. Lilith and I have come to the conclusion that this bizarre phenomenon needs to be discussed because there's actually danger involved in this. And we really feel that we need to be talking about it. Over the years, we've spoken to countless people who have also had terrifying experiences in the same location we've been discussing, but very few have ever gone public, probably for fear of retribution or public ridicule. But that is until now, ... And we're going to be discussing what happens when the sun goes down over that entire area. And just to be clear, we're not referring to one particular town. There are accounts of strange happenings all over the entire region, or what we refer to as the fringe. And every town seems to have its own kind of mystique, folklore, and alluring history. But for now, we're going to focus our attention on one particular location where both Lilith and I have had some absolutely terrifying experiences.
Yes, and that's very true.
But what's even more bizarre is that we have had similar experiences separately, years apart, at the same hotel, in the same room, if you can believe that. That's actually how Lilith and I became friends, bonding over the terror, right?
Yes. So very true.
Even though we're both traveling with people who also experienced the strange phenomenon, something very bizarre happened, which is rather common apparently. Some people just shut down afterwards and refuse to discuss it or even want to be reminded of it. And I would go so far as to say that they actually sever all ties. And that's happened to both of us where we've traveled with people and they just stopped talking to us after. No argument, no nothing, just done. And it's very bizarre, but we'll be getting into that later as to why that happens. And in some cases, their personalities actually change and their lives seem to spiral. And instead of facing their fears, they actually let the fear consume them. There's even a term for that called Rennie madness. And we've seen that multiple times, but shh.
Oh, yeah.
We won't name names. But we'll be delving much deeper into how lives have been dramatically changed after these experiences from that profound energy for the better and for the worse later on. But now a word from our sponsor.
We don't have one yet.
What? I thought you were going to take care of that.
No, I haven't yet.
Okay, well, you know what? Why don't you just remind them to do a couple things?
So make sure you hit the oh God, take two.
I thought you were going to take care of that.
I haven't, not yet.
Oh, how embarrassing. Okay, anyway, well, why don't you just remind them to do a couple things? You know what to say.
So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, and please share your thoughts.
And welcome back. And now the moment you've all been waiting for. Lilith, Why don't you start the creepy ball rolling and share some of your bone chilling experiences in this infamous location?
I would love to do that. Yeah. I just would love to tell this story. You know how much I've been wanting to tell this story.
Yeah, you and me both.
I have been there previous in 2004, 2006, and those times were lovely, beautiful. Nothing ever happened that was creepy or anything like that. But when I took a group in 2013, that was a whole different kettle of fish. All right. And I had no idea that we were even going to experience anything that we had. So when we landed in Marseille, our guide comes and picks us up, and we were going up to St. Baume first. And let me just say, it's not just the Rennes, the fringe area. It's all of that area in France, from Provence to the south of France. There's all weird, creepy things that happen. But we were going up to St. Baume, saw all these mountains that absolutely made me think of something prehistoric, because these mountains are incredible. And Leslie knows that. You know, she's seen the mountains over there. They just look completely different. There's a lovely village up there, and the whole area is like on another plateau, and then you have these big mountains again. So we get to the hotel, look around. We were told that a lot of the trees over there in the area were over 1,000 years old, and it's just the energy there was something really special about that place up there. And so, of course, we went through our day. It was getting late, and we got into the hotel, and it was getting late at night. And the woman I was with, she started getting kind of skittish, being in the room. And we had the door open because everybody had a balcony, and it was facing the mountain. But I noticed that the mountain, and I actually have pictures of this, actually had eyes. And it really gave you a creepy feeling that you were being watched. And it wasn't just by a human being. It seemed like nature itself was watching you. Some kind of mystical stuff was happening there. And it was really creeping this lady out. It was, in fact, she couldn't even stay outside on the balcony. She had to go inside. So the night came, and I noticed that the two gentlemen that came on the group tour with us, which were friends of mine, we heard them talking. They were getting agitated and excited about something. So I went outside. It was about 11 o'clock that night, and I went out to the balcony, and I said, hey, what's going on? You gotta calm down. People are trying to sleep. And they were like, oh my God, we're seeing a lot of things. We just saw something float, back in the recesses of that, the forest. We've just seen something float through. And at first I thought they were nuts. And, I was just like, what are you, high? There's nothing back there. And as soon as I said that, I saw something in my periphery just go by, just flash. And I look, and sure enough, there was something going on back there. It was pretty clear that it looked like almost a smoky figure was floating in and out of the trees back there. And I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. And you could hear them, oh my God, there it goes again. So that was a really weird, I wasn't expecting that right away. I was not, I tried to look at things differently on both sides. I try to be a skeptic at first, because there's always an explanation for why something was happening. So I'm trying to figure out, is something hanging out there? Is something going on that the wind is blowing? But pointing our flashlights, it was just nothing out there was hanging. It was not. There was something literally floating around back there. So after a while, we started really getting really creeped out. And we saw in our peripheries kind of things going on, just like you saw something there and then it would disappear. And it just became overwhelming. So I got to the point where I said, hey, we need to get back in and it's time for us to get back in. So I shut the doors because I was a little spooked. Anyway, the next morning we went off to Mary Magdalene's grotto.
Mm.
And if you've never done it, you really need to go one time to go see the grotto up there in St. Baume.
Mm.
And, kings and queens have gone up there. I mean, people go on pilgrimage to go up there. There's special days, I guess Mary Magdalene's feast day, July 22nd. They actually have like a cathedral up in there, and people go up there to honor her, and they have mass and all that. We did have some things happen.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the grotto itself, and it was at 2 levels. When you go into the grotto, you have the altar and in all the chairs and everything that everybody sits, and you can sit there and meditate. And then you can go down the next level, and that level actually goes into there's a door in the back that actually goes into the house where the Dominican priest lives and stuff, and that's the way he comes in and out. And we were down there, and what's interesting is there's 2 wells. There's a well down below, and there's a well up above, and it's from the water trickling. So I was turning around with my camera, and I was looking around, and I was taking snapshots and stuff. And through my camera lens, I saw a monk standing at the door where the priest's supposed to come in. And I just thought in my head, oh, wow, this guy is going to come in. Maybe he's going to say mass or do something or whatever. And so I took my camera down, and I lowered it. And when I looked, there was nothing there.
Oh.
And so I looked up, and I looked through the lens again, and there it was. And I thought, oh my God. And I was like, okay, something's happening here. And so
Did you take a picture? Did you take a picture of that?
I took pictures, but there is a very dark, you can see there is a very dark image back there.
Okay.
And it's not very clear if it's a monk or not, but what I was seeing through the lens, it was a monk.
Wow.
And so I started snapping away like a crazy fool. And anyway, because I wanted to capture that. And so, that was the first experience from landing in Provence, in that area, that everybody was having, because one of the guys was telling me that he was getting a really uncomfortable feeling down below where I was at, snapping those pictures of the monk. So we went on, and that's when we started making our way to Rennes Chateau. Just everything was gorgeous and beautiful and stuff. But when we got to the area where we were going to stay, we got out. We started getting our, luggage out and everything, and we were assigned our, little hotel rooms. And anyway, the 2 gentlemen were to the right of me. I was in the center. Then the other 2 ladies were there. No, 3 ladies were next to me, and we had a little powwow with the guide and what was going to happen. And so we went again and had dinner, stayed inside, came back to our little hotels that we were staying at, and I was sharing with this lady. So everything was good. We were just, the sun was going down. We met the caretaker of the place that's there at night. So anyway, so we're just sitting there. And at the time, I was smoking cigarettes. And so I was just having a lovely cigarette with a glass of wine, with chit-chatting with everybody, just relaxing. And all of a sudden, everybody stops talking. And we get this weird feeling that we are being really watched. And so I'm looking around, and we're all kind of looking around, but it's really dark. I mean, they really don't have a lot of lighting, and so I'm just thinking, wow, this is a really weird feeling. And I knew that I'd seen the caretaker go off to his place, for the night. So it was just really bizarre. It was just a really not a good feeling at all. Again, it was about 11:30 when we all decided to go in. Anyway, at that point, I had, no idea that the guys next door were planning an outing at midnight. Okay.
No, 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 no. They did not do that.
Yeah, they did. And
That's
I didn't know. I didn't know. I really didn't know that they were going to go do this at night. And we had already been warned by everybody in that area, in the place that we were at, do not go anywhere at night. We were warned from the get-go.
that's ominous, isn't it?
Yeah. And it kind of it kind of spooked me. And I told them, don't go anywhere, just stay in your hotels, you know. And of course, they don't listen to me. But anyway, around 1 o'clock, I would say 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, I heard a knock on the door. And of course, you know, the doors were all glass, but you had curtains. So
Mhm.
I got woken up by knocking. Okay, let's just put it that way. And I just thought, I looked at the clock and I thought 1:30, and I thought, oh God, I bet those idiots you know, locked themselves out or something happened, you know. So I go downstairs, you know, and at this time the woman wakes up and she's like, what's wrong? You know, and I'm just telling her, it's okay, go back to sleep. I'll take care of it. And I go to open the curtain, but this fear overwhelmed me. This fear hit me really hard. And and you know, I have to tell you, Leslie, that really pissed me off because I'm not a person to get really afraid of anything. I mean, I'm very curious. I need to find out what's going on, but
Yeah.
this stopped me for a few seconds, and then I just thought, oh, get over yourself, you know, just open the curtain, open the door. And so I did, and there was nothing there. So I
No.
opened up the door and I looked around and I thought, what the hell? You know, I thought, what is going on? Is somebody playing a game? And so at that point, I did. I left and I went to go knock on their window, on their door to see, but they weren't there. Nobody answered. So I thought, okay, I'm going to leave it alone. I came back in, I shut the door, locked it, everything, shut the curtain, you know, and go back up and go to my bed and just about to go to sleep. And it does it again.
Oh God.
And I'm thinking, okay, if it is those, I am going to be so mad if those guys are playing a trick on us. And so again, I go down and again I get that feeling, and I'm like, oh, I don't, you know.
Yeah.
So I open the window, nothing. I open the door, and I'm just like, so I open the door and I look around, and there's nobody. And I'm wondering, okay, what is going on? You know, is it the caretaker? Who's doing this? Who's playing these games like that? Anyway, so you know, I just come back in, I shut the door, lock it, do the same thing, close the curtain and everything, go back upstairs. And by now, this is like getting after 2 o'clock in the morning. So I'm just about to go to sleep again, and the knocking, it happens again. But this time I heard the knob, the doorknob, the handle being wrenched, like somebody was trying to get in. And I jumped up, and at that point, the lady next door to me said, for F's sake, what is going on here? You know, because she was getting woke up too. And so we both go down there, and she's hanging on to the back of me. And so I open the curtain, and nobody's there. And we unlock the door, and that's when I see the guys coming back. And I just said, where have you been? And in a whisper, because I didn't want to wake anybody up. And I was like, where you been? Well, we'll tell you later. We'll tell you later. We got to get back inside. And so they got into the room, and I walked back in. And before I shut the door, I said, whoever's doing this, leave us alone. And I just shut the door, locked it, and shut the curtain. And nothing. That was the first night. Then the second night, during the day, let me tell you, during the day, everything was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
The you know, the goddess in eternity, and oh man, it was just prancing in the fields of flowers. It was absolutely a wonderful energy. Yeah, it was absolutely great. And we felt really good. But the next day, we were having breakfast, and the two gentlemen, you know, that had gone on that had told me they had gone up towards Renly Chateau, and they were telling me that something peculiar happened, something weird happened, but they couldn't talk to me at that point.
Oh.
about it yet. And I said, okay, because the person that was guiding us was coming around, and we couldn't really talk at that point. We didn't, they didn't want them to know that they were going. So I told them, you need to stop. You don't be going back up there. And of course, like I said, they don't listen to me. So the ladies that were next to us came up to me and they said, I'm going to tell you something. And I said, what, is something wrong? And the one lady said, no, nothing's wrong. But somebody was knocking at her door last night, like early in the morning, like about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And I said, that happened to me. I said, I checked into it, but I didn't see anybody. And so they were like, well, maybe somebody's playing games or something, or maybe, it's an animal. I said, yeah, an animal that knows how to move the handles and knock on the door. That's pretty good. And the other lady rolled her eyes like, yeah. They didn't want to open their curtain. They didn't want to see who it was. Coming into the second night that we were there after we went on our tours and all that stuff. The second night, again, the guys decide to go off to their little romp, up to Ren. And so I'm standing out there with the girls, and I'm having my cigarette again, and I'm having a little glass of wine, and we got to, talking, and the ladies they're older ladies, and they decide to go in early. So this was about maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock. So they go in, and then the lady that was with me goes in, and I just sit out there smoking my cigarette, and I'm just scanning. I'm looking around. I'm looking at my surroundings, making sure, I'm okay. So I'm just sitting there with my cigarette and just thinking about things the next day, what I'm supposed to be doing. And when all of a sudden I see movement in front of me, like way on down there, because the property is long and there was movement. And I stand up and I narrow my eyes to try to see what is that. And I've got my cigarette in my hand. All of a sudden, I've noticed that this is, whatever it is very tall. And it kind of, I don't want to say shimmers, it kind of changes from gray to black. It just kind of like goes back and forth, hopping around like back and forth. And it reminded me of a character from the movie The Sign, those lizards that are, crouching down like that, and they're just moving back and forth. That's kind of what it reminded me of. So at that point, I realized what it is, but I don't know what it is. It just, and all of a sudden it starts charging after me. And I drop my cigarette. I don't know what to do. I'm just there. Then it suddenly stops 10 feet from me. And again, it does this back and forth thing, and it tilts its head. And I know this sounds absolutely bizarre. This is exactly how I felt. It's like I recognize the energy signature of this thing. And it recognized my energy signature. And then it just stood up tall, and it was very tall. I would say it was more almost 8 feet. It just kind of looked at me and walked off into the parking lot. And I was scared out of my mind. Wow. I was scared, but I was like bewildered and confused. And I thought to myself, what the heck is that? And I just realized my cigarette was burning in the grass and it was dry. So I just snuffed it out, and I turned around and went back into the place that we were staying. I shut the door and shut the curtains, and I sat down in the chair. I couldn't even speak because I could not comprehend what that was. I didn't know what that was, and why we recognized each other. I don't even know. To this day, I don't even have an explanation. We were able to sleep that night, but it was still a creepy feeling. Even the lady in the room told me she felt like something was still in the room. We always kept a light on. Just letting we always kept that back light on because we wouldn't sleep in the dark in that place. And so then after that, the third night is when things really heightened. The two gentlemen, had a situation occur between them. Let me tell you, by the third day, people's personality was kind of changing. things were affecting them. A lot of them weren't sleeping good at night. I know I was having vivid dreams that were absolutely bizarre. Everybody was, their sleep was just getting messed up really bad. These two guys, it was about 5 p.m, had a fallout. I don't know what it escalated to, but it escalated to the point that one of them decided to just go, take off, whatever. So it was about maybe 7 when one of the guys came over to talk to me about what happened, and that the other guy had left, went up towards Rennes Chateau. And it was starting to get dark at that time. And so I told him to come in because he was really upset about it. And he came in and we got to talking, and I was talking to him and telling him, look, weird things are going on over here. People's energy is being messed with. So you just need to calm down, and, everything's going to be okay. And I went into my spiel and trying to get things straightened out. But he actually, sat there and we talked about a lot of stuff. And the other lady came down and she was talking with us. And, time passed. It must have been maybe 10. When the other gentleman comes running, we had the curtains closed and everything like that. I had the door locked. And I heard the knocking on the door, and I thought, oh, not again. But I opened up the curtain, and it was the other guy that was his friend. Knocking on the door. He was scared out of his mind. I opened the door and I said, oh my God, what's wrong? What happened? I go, I need to come in. I need to come in, So he came in. He told me at that point that he was running for his life because he felt like something was going to kill him. Something was bad was going to happen to him. And he said that he saw this tall shadow figure behind him, and they'd seen it before walking in the fields next to him, but they had been told it was wild boar, but it wasn't because
I'm sorry.
Wild boar doesn't have red eyes. They don't have it is an actual fact that their eyes do not show any reflection. And he was absolutely, I really thought he was going to have a heart attack. He was pale white. Sat him down, got both of these men to talk to each other and try to work this out because, I didn't need this on this tour. And so that incident that happened really did make me more aware that there was something going on here. Other things were happening. There were weird things that were occurring, not just in that area, but in the other areas that we were going to. We heard in the area that we were staying at, and I remember this one night that we heard this roaring noise. We were all outside, and it sounded like a car engine, but not quite. It was just really just horrible roaring, and it got louder and louder. And then we noticed to the left of us, on the other side of the property, there's a big field where they plant, wheat and things like that. So I knew what it looked like, but this roaring noise was coming up, into that field, but there was a huge light. And it looked like it was going up and down, like it was traversing these huge mounds, which I knew there was no mounds over there. It was like, at first you're like trying to figure out what it is and why is it acting like that. And so we're all seeing this. We all witnessed this. And it's just going up and down, and it's making this noise loud and loud. And then all of a sudden it goes into 360 and it starts spinning around like is it 360 or 380? Leslie, sorry.
Sorry, what happened?
Is it a 360 or 380? I can't remember.
A 360.
Whatever it is, a vehicle, whatever, just going up and down. But then it just starts going into a 360 and starts turning. And I am telling you, it is going at high voltage around and around and around, spinning around that. There was no way if it was a quad bike or any kind of vehicle could do that. It was spinning like crazy, and the noise was getting louder and louder. And then all of a sudden it stops, and it starts going back to going up and down, up and down. And it's like it goes way beyond the field, and it's like all of a sudden it drops off, and the noise, the engine noise, the light, everything is gone, and you don't hear it no more, and it's completely disappeared. And we didn't stop to think about taking pictures or anything like that, but it was just absolutely bizarre, and we could not figure out what in the heck that was. Was it a UFO? I don't know. I really don't know. I knew there was people that said they saw UFOs in the area, lights, things like that. But this was really, really bizarre. And so then, another night, we were sitting outside, and again, we felt like we were being watched. Okay, there was another night that we were all sitting outside and, just talking, chit-chatting with ourselves, when all of a sudden we felt that we were being watched. And it was really, really intense, almost to the point that the woman I was, sharing a room with, she went inside. It was uncomfortable. And the other ladies decided to go back inside themselves. And so it was me and the other two gentlemen just sitting outside. And all of a sudden, it was very faint at first, and then it started getting a little louder. We heard chanting. And we were trying to make it out. Who was chanting? Where was this coming from? And it seemed like at first it was coming to the left of us. And we tried to kind of go investigate over there. And then it seemed like it was all around us. And then it seemed like it was to the right of us. Mm. And the same experience happened when I went back there in 2017. I heard the chanting again. I heard, I had another witness to that account that the chanting was going in and out, like they were going in a circle. And it was very clear to the point where you could hear, whether it was French or another language, you couldn't even really tell. You didn't know what it was. It was a language that I didn't even really recognize. So this went on for a good, I would say, 20 minutes. It was just nonstop. And it would go in and out, in and out. And we were just, trying to roam around the area to see where it was coming from, but we just couldn't figure out where it was coming from. And then all of a sudden it stopped. I just felt really uncomfortable inside the room. I didn't feel like we were alone. And I did, some things to try to clear the energy away and try to, let the energy go out. And once I did that, it seemed to settle down, but there was still this uncomfortable feeling. So I just went on to bed. And the next day, I was getting, information from other people that they felt like they were not alone in the rooms, and they felt like that feeling of being watched. They were actually being watched inside the room. And so I'm getting all of this feedback from everybody about what's going on. And it's not, it's starting to get uncomfortable. And it's kind of like nice to get away during the day, but at night it's starting to become like, kind of dread of coming back there. And so these things continue on, and again, one night after that, we're all sleeping. We all went to bed. We get woken up again with the knocking. Now, I hadn't heard the knocking from the first night that I got there, but now we were hearing the knocking. And this time it wasn't just knocking. They were knocking really loud, and they were, moving the handles up and down pretty hard, like they were trying to get in. And again, I just didn't want to go down there. I thought, okay, I'm just going to ignore it. And then I'm thinking in my mind, oh my God, is somebody getting killed outside or something? You don't want to have that happen. You don't want something bad to happen, and you didn't help. So I get brave and I open up the curtain, and again, there's nobody there. And I unlock the door, and I look outside when one of the gentlemen opens the door, and he's really, really ticked off. And he says, "Are you knocking? Are you knocking on the door? Why are you doing that?" And I just said, "No, I'm not. I'm wondering if you're knocking on mine." So we go over there together to kind of talk and kind of look around, but there's nothing going on. By that time, one of the older women in the other room next door come open the door, and they asked the same thing. "Are you knocking there?" I said, "No, we're not knocking on the door. We're trying to figure out what's going on." And she goes, "This is ridiculous." She goes, I can't even get any sleep here." Then I said, I'll talk to the people and see what's going on tomorrow morning. Let's just try to get some sleep. So I spoke to the people that were there and everything like that. And they told me, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what's happening. We've never had any problems like this. People were seeing things, and people were having experiences, and people were hearing other people talking, like a bunch of people in the area, and nobody's there, and you just hear all this whispering going on. And, ghostly apparitions moving about, by the river of colors and floating around, and just, bizarre things just happening every night. It was like a show, dinner in a theater. And it was unbelievable. I'd never seen that much activity in an area that it was continual. It was always something, and it was continual. And this wasn't the first time. When I went back there in 2017, and I went back there in 2018, it was the same thing. It was a continual thing of all these phenomenon, all these ghostly apparitions, and all this stuff happening with people. And they're coming to me asking me, "You've been here before. Has this happened? Whatever." And there was a time that there was a group of people, a family that was living up on the apartment building that was there. And of course, you have to go up the stairs and stuff like that. And when you're going up the stairs, you go up into the apartment. The very next day, I guess the family had been there for maybe 4 days. But the very next day, the husband came to me and said, "I don't know who to talk to. I need to talk to somebody because there's something really weird happening." And I said, "Go ahead and have a seat, tell me what's going on." And he told me that every night since they've been there, he can hear somebody climbing up the stairs and walking around on the deck up there on the balcony. And then he can hear them knocking on the window. And he's gone outside on the balcony and not seen anybody. He's opened the curtains and there's nobody there. And this has been every night. And he was worried because his kids were sleeping in the living area. And so he makes sure that the door is secured. And he asked me if I'd heard anything and it just so happened that me and another roommate that was staying in the same hotel room that we've been staying in, that I was in there in 2013. It just so happened that one night, me and her were sitting outside, we were talking, when we heard somebody climbing up the stairs. And when we looked over, there was nobody there, but we could hear them climbing up the stairs and walking around on the balcony. And of course, we both look at each other and we get up and we go inside the room and lock the door. We just like, wow, okay, that's really weird.
They were standing right beside me. I could hear them walking and hear the branches cracking, and, they were here, but I couldn't see them.
During the day, this place is amazing. At night, everything changes. literally, this place comes alive at night. I've never stayed anywhere like this before. There were a couple of nights where Melissa and I were absolutely terrified. We thought that we literally were in danger. Like, not kidding. Like, you know, the two girls staying in the weird cabin in the middle of nowhere. Well, that was us in the movie, you know, the horror movie.
The feeling I got every time was that they were guardians. They were guardians of something. And that watchers, or maybe, you know, watching people guarding something. And who knows what they're guarding? I don't know. Maybe they're guarding a portal. They could be coming out of anything. You know, we went up to the plateau, Elizabeth Van Buren's plateau. There was, we went up towards the plateau. This happened in 2017. This was during the day. And let me tell you, this was during the day. And we went up to the plateau to see the tower and all the other stuff that she had built over there. But there is an area that is a triangle of trees. I think they're pine trees or some kind of oak trees or something like that.
Pine, yeah.
And yeah, they're pine, right? I guess they're pine. So we go into the area. It like pulls you to go to the area. So we start, so we start walking over there, nonchalantly walking over there. And I'm thinking, oh, this is so cool to have a triangle of trees, you know, and yeah, right. You walk into the triangle of trees and your whole life changes because you're about to have an experience that you're not going to forget.
I know.
So I'm in the triangle of trees. You can feel the energy shifting. You know something's about to happen, but you don't know if you should run or what the heck you should do. Yeah. And I turn around and look straight down into the triangle, into the point. And I keep hearing these men. I keep hearing all these people yelling and screaming and, you know, like there's a major fight, like a war is happening.
Oh my God.
And I'm looking around. I don't see anything. I see the peaceful little birds flying around. The sky is blue, but I'm hearing like there's war happening. And I'm like, okay, I'm going nuts. There's something not right with me. And all of a sudden, it's like you see in a film, you know, I'm hearing all of this warlike, you know, voices, men talking and yelling, but they're coming in, they're a different language, a completely different. And I'd never have heard that language before. When all of a sudden, you know, like in a film, you know, an old film where at the end, you know, the film burns up, that's kind of what happened. That was in front of me. This whole area, the trees disappeared, everything disappeared in front of me. And this vision of another time came into my view.
Wow.
And, I, you know, again, you're checking yourself and thinking, okay, I'm nuts. I just, what is going on? I'm absolutely going insane over here. But I know that I'm seeing what I'm seeing. So I see this war happening, and these men are dressed up, something I've never seen before. It's kind of Roman, but it's kind of not. It's just, and then I see these two men, and they're yelling at each other. They're, you know, they're not fighting, but they're yelling at each other, and they're, you know, I don't know what's going on. When all of a sudden they turn and they're staring at me as I'm staring at them, and I'm trying to comprehend what is going on here. And one of the men puts his hand up and points at me and says something in a language. And I, at that point, realized, oh my gosh, they can see me.
Oh my God.
And I can see them. And I thought, oh my God, what's, you know, and they're yelling at me like, I don't know. And so one of them begins to start walking towards me. And that is when I decided to turn around and get out of there. and I just started running through the V. And I kept looking back, and I could see the man still walking. He was walking real fast. He was walking to try to get to me.
Oh
As
my
soon as
God.
I got out of the V, everything closed up. And you could see the man was just standing there like, what's going on? And then everything closed up and went back to the trees.
Wow.
And so, let me tell you, I did some history after that. I went and did some research on the clothing.
Hmm.
And what I realized was that that clothing was, Frankish, Merovingian, or even Visigothic, because the clothing they were wearing and stuff was about that time period. It was around, just, right after the Romans, just kind of in that
Oh,
little realm of time. And it shocked me that I'd seen that, but it really shocked me that they saw me.
yeah.
And so then another time I got attacked. And what was weird was the other ladies that were in there could hear the men speaking, but they couldn't see them. So again, it's just a lot of experiences that happen there. And yeah, I could write a book about it. But it just, and I know that every time that you go there, you're going to experience things. But what the energy does is it really does change you.
Yeah.
And I know Leslie's heard that, and we'll probably go into it later on more so. But there is a light and a dark that happens there, and the light is a really angelic goddess feeling, and the dark is very, very dark. And like I said, I don't know what these guardians or watchers are and what they're guarding or what's going on, but
Mm.
I am not the only one that's seen that. The other gentlemen saw it. I've had other females that gone on trips with me over there. They've seen it and experienced it. Um, you know, uh, Everybody has a story of what has happened, and I've heard from so many. And you just don't know. And I believe that it does change you. It does work on your psyche, and whatever shadow work you haven't worked on, whatever baggage you haven't worked on, it is going to help you work on it, and it's going to help you get rid of it. Or you can be stubborn and stay in the fear and not work on it at all. And of course, like I said, we'll get into that later on, but there is an energy, and it is, you know, polar opposites, and, I would say if you're being pulled to go over there, great. Just, be aware of that, and know that things are going to happen and going to change. But, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't say I regret it or anything like that. I'm glad for the experience because it really did change me a lot, and it helped me to progress more in my frequency and more in my spirituality and more in my understanding of there are things out there that I can't explain, but they are out there, and whatever they are, portals or whatever they may be, or shadow people or whatever, they exist. And you can't,
Oh yeah.
you can't say that they don't exist, because you saw what you saw, you felt what you felt, you smelt it, you heard it, you have witnesses, you have people that experienced it. So but that's my story. Like I said, I could write a book, but I've talked enough, so I'm going to hand it over to Leslie for you to listen to her terrifying, terrifying tale.
Oh my God. Well, you know what I was thinking about as you were explaining all this, because of course I was laughing because I've had many similar experiences, but Skinwalker Ranch. It seems like
Yes.
Rennes Chateau is
Yeah.
the it's the French equivalent to Skinwalker Ranch because there's so many similar things that happen.
Oh yeah, very much so. And I've come to that kind of conclusion too. And I've watched the show. I've been kind of researching that for a long time. But I will tell you this, Leslie. I do think they have come to an idea that they have found different places like Skinwalker Ranch, like in
Right.
Europe and in United States and different countries.
Mhm.
But I don't know if they realize that there's another place like that in France, because you're right, that is the French version
Yeah.
of Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, definitely. And I think there are definitely portals opening up at night there, maybe during the day as well, obviously, with you. But definitely at that location at night, there's portals opening up, and those things are coming through because I don't know how else to describe it. It sounds so much. When I was watching those episodes of Skinwalker Ranch, I was like, oh my God, yes, that's exactly what's going on. And the knocking and those things crawling around, all of that stuff, they reported so many similar things happening. Paranormal stuff, but also those creepy watcher things, orbs. That place is famous for its orbs.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and it's famous for when it rains over there. I didn't say that, but I didn't experience that there. But I've heard that when it rains there, it actually rains very peculiar. It's like
Yes.
the rain will come at an angle,
Yep.
and then it'll flip and it'll go to another angle. And then people have seen the rain actually come down and make into an L shape and start raining off to the side that
Well, that's
way.
totally normal. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. That's a really bizarre, energetic phenomenon, I think, going on there, if
Hmm.
that's happening. And
And,
that
and
makes
and a lot of magnetic energy there too. You can feel it. It is like Skinwalker Ranch, where they have magnetic anomalies and things like
Mhm.
that. But there is like some kind of magnetic force. And what's funny is when they talked about it, Skinwalker Ranch, how in the Uinta Basin, that basin is like a bowl. It
Yes.
is shaped like a bowl, like some huge meteor millions and millions of years ago hit it,
Yeah.
and made this big bowl like that. And when you look at, the Rennes-le-Chateau area, you can see that in a way. You can see like that is like a big bowl area, like something was slammed in there.
Well, yeah, and
And
also with Bugarash, the mountain there they've said it's flipped upside down. The top of it is the
yeah,
oldest part of it, and the bottom is the newest part of it. So at some point it flipped. Well, what kind of force makes a mountain, a huge mountain, flip upside down?
yeah, like a pancake, you know.
Yeah,
I've read they can't even explain that. They can't.
no,
Even scientists can't explain that. I mean, some say something about it, but I'd have to look it up again. But
yeah. But we'll
it
get
is,
into Bugarash another time because there's so many legends and crazy things that happen there, and the UFO sightings and the history there is crazy. It's a whole other world. So we'll
yeah,
get into that
that's
another
a whole
time.
other episode.
Oh God, yeah, it's a trilogy. But one thing I wanted to mention is the electronic situation, and that's another thing, Skinwalker Ranch and many other places. When I arrived in France, my cell phone just stopped working for no reason. It had no reason to not work. And no matter what I did, it never worked. I couldn't receive texts, phone calls. It was just a glorified camera, basically. And my computer, my power cord fried. The first few days I was there, that's never happened before. I got a little bit emotional when I received a certain email we won't talk about. And right after that, Gmail crashed for the entire trip.
Oh wow.
Apparently, I got in trouble and I wasn't allowed
Well,
to talk on Gmail. And then also my video camera. Every time, and I'm going to get into my story, but every time that particular energy would show up, the sound on my video camera would go like bop, 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 and make these really weird, all this feedback. And another thing that's never happened anywhere else. I've had this camera for years. And another thing that happened was the zoom. So if I was filming something, my manual zoom that you have to actually push would go completely close up. So anything I was trying to film just went completely close up. And this happened over and over again, but only when I was feeling that energy, feeling that horrible dread and impending doom, and hearing that the noises and all that stuff. That's when my camera would start acting up. And also those little orby things would show up, and many other things, which I'll talk about, would show up at the same time as those creepy things. And then my whole system would just go crazy, and electronics would just die for no apparent reason. Oh, and the best one was when I arrived in France. I arrived in in the 2015 trip. I arrived on I think it was September 13th, and my phone just switched to January 1st and just stayed on that January 1st. I have no idea why it did that. So that was another weird thing that happened, and nothing worked. One time we got into the cemetery in Rennes-le-Château, which is a huge thing. You're not allowed in there, but we had special permission. And I filmed a bunch in there. And when I got back to that hotel, I was reviewing the videos, and I watched every video disappear. Bang, 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 bang. They just all vanished off my phone. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't delete them. And I was heartbroken because that cemetery is only open to the public. I think it's November 1st, once a year. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm never going to have that opportunity again. And when I got home several weeks later, they reappeared on my camera, on my phone. And I was like, wow, okay.
Well, we had the same kind of things going on over there with technical difficulties and things like that. But, we put it off to not, at first you put it off to trying to make a sense of what's going on over there. But yeah, that was going on back and forth. But you were filming, though. You were filming and recording.
I filmed.
We weren't. We were just taking pictures. And I remember one of the gentlemen said that my camera, because I had a digital camera, that it was actually going off. He could see it going off on its own. But yeah, you were filming, though. I know that you were.
I filmed. That's one thing that I always do now, because there's always weird things happening to me, and
yeah, that goes with me.
and just because I think some people do think I'm nuts, and for me it's a vindication. I'm like, no, well, look at this. Like, if you can explain this, then So I always film, and when I was there that time, I was doing video blogs on my computer. I was filming with my phone, and I was filming with my video camera. So a lot of the times at night at the hotel, because that place had no telephone, no TV, no internet. It had nothing. I was happy that it had indoor plumbing, thank God. So I would sit outside. Don't even ask me why. Well, actually, to get internet, oh my God, I had to walk completely across the property to the main house and sit outside to get onto the internet. So if I wanted to talk to everyone else and let them know that I was still breathing, I had to do that horrible walk in the pitch dark, because they did not believe in exterior lighting. And I was pretty brave, actually. At the beginning, I was doing it by myself, and I was perfectly fine in the pitch blackness, in the terrifying place. But with me, every single night at approximately midnight. So explain why I was perfectly fine the whole night out there by myself, making videos, talking to people on Facebook, and all of a sudden, boom, the temperature would drop, and I'd start hearing the breaking of the branches and the footsteps coming from the stream, which was very close to the main house, in the same spot every single night. And I'd see things, shadowy things moving around, and my computer would start acting up. And I would just be like, oh my God, I got to go. I have to go. I have to go. I have to go. And I would just shut my computer down and run like a sissy girl back to my room, close the door, lock it, close the curtains, and just shake. And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with me? This is ridiculous. And this happened every single night. And it's funny when you were talking, it's true. It gets worse every night. It intensifies every single night to this crescendo where by the end, the girl I was traveling with at the end, her and I both thought our lives were in danger. We thought we were going to be killed. It was so intense and so powerful and so noxious. And they were getting right up in my face.
Okay, I just wanted to do a quick video. It's the 25th of September. Things here have gotten progressively creepier as the days go on. The nights are just, I can't even describe what goes on here at night. My battery's about to die. My power cord died all of a sudden. My cell phone won't work here. It's like we're being shut off from the rest of the world. The night is getting terrifying. This place becomes something else at night. I'm not crazy. I'm not losing my mind. It's just there is something really weird going on here. We're checking out tomorrow morning. We have one more night here. We've been followed by a weird bald guy with glasses. I don't know what that's all about, but everywhere we go, he seems to pop up and stare at us. So and I are getting really bugged out here. There's a weird energy here. It's daytime and I don't feel right here. I'll be happy when we get the vlog out of here.
It was just terrifying. And I've had so many paranormal things happen to me throughout my life. Really, really terrifying things where I've been physically injured. And this was worse. This was different. This was a physical manifestation. This wasn't a spirity thing. You could hear the huge branches breaking and the loud pounding footsteps. And sometimes they would come right up behind me or right beside me and just scare the living bejeebies out of me. And they would even come right inside the room. And I have video. I actually have
yeah,
some.
you do.
There was some video that I didn't watch for about, I think, 4 years. They're just some videos that I'm like, no, I'm not looking at those. And then finally, I opened up my camera and said, okay, you got to be a big girl and got to watch these. And I just went, oh my God, that's why I didn't want to watch these. And sure enough, when I brightened up because everything was pitch black, when I brightened up the picture, I'm like, oh my God. You could see things and you could hear things. I know I heard weird noises, but I could hear wailing.
That moment when you hear footsteps that sound like they're coming right towards you. Yeah. Just going for a little stroll. I don't know if this is such a good idea. We've heard some really weird noises.
I did not hear that. There was, maybe it was similar to maybe you're chanting, but this was more like a like this. And I'm like, what the
Wow, we
heck?
didn't hear that. We did.
Oh, it was so bizarre. And I know I didn't hear that, but you can see in the video where I go, I'm hearing some really weird noises here. And I kept saying I was hearing ringing, like a singing bowl was being, like a whole bunch of singing bowls were being played, like some odd high-pitched ringing was happening, and definitely voices. And then one night I'm doing a video, actually video blog, and I was talking about my day with Henry Lincoln, blah, 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 blah. It seems like every time I talked about Henry Lincoln, something weird happened. I have the video to prove it. And one time I'm in the middle of talking about sacred geometry, and I hear this guttural growl coming from the stream. And I was sitting right in front of the JIT, which happened to be the same one that you stayed in. And I was sitting right there doing blah, 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 blah. And I hear this, and I just was like, oh my God. So that was not a dog. And By the way, it was not a wild boar. It was not a wild animal. I'm sorry. I've never heard anything make that kind of a noise. And I was like, okay, I got to go now because this is getting really freaky. Oh, there were so many odd things. But there was a night, our last night in at that place, everything was at a fever pitch. That's when I picked up those things right beside the stream that were looking at me. It was like 3 figures, tall figures. Almost looked like they had pointy hats, or I'm not really sure, but odd shaped heads, and almost looked like they were wearing robes or something. And one of them just turned around and looked at me. And you could see the eyes and the nose and the mouth. And I was like, ah. And I just said to her, like, we got to go. And we were running. I was filming us running. Sorry, my camera was like, bah, 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 bah. This was a sound that my camera made every time it encountered that particular energy.
It's time to go. Yes.
And the temperature dropped really fast. And she ran into the room first. And I just did a quick pan of just the immediate area very, very fast. And that was it. I mean, I ran back in the room. Later, when I finally reviewed the footage and I slowed it down, oh my God. You can see 2 small figures see their faces perfectly in the door inside the room when I was outside looking at me. 2 little creepy things staring at me. I've got that on camera. And then as the pan is going, you see these 2 glowing eyes right beside the door on the wall. The hell was that? And then I panned even more. And on the wall, there's this big stone wall where the gate was to get in. And there was all vines there. And as I'm panning across the vines, you see this face and these eyes appear from the vines, kind of come out and then disappear again. And then there's this entity in the air that's coming down with its mouth open, and you can see the teeth coming down towards me. Like, ah. And then I panned up, and on top of the wall, you could see these figures, maybe about 4 of them, standing on top of the wall, skinny, scrawny, lanky things looking down at me. And my camera was going mental. And it was going in and out of zoom. And you can see me in a total panic, like, ah! I'm running inside the room. And I slam the door, close the drapes, and I'm talking. And I'm doing this whole little spiel about, every night at a certain time, everything changes here, blah, 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 blah. So I'm doing my little spiel, and I can see the curtains moving behind me as I'm talking, but I don't notice when I'm talking. And you can see this tall, all black figure behind the curtain, right behind me. So you can actually see this tall, black figure, super tall, behind me, behind the curtain. And as I'm talking, all of a sudden I just go pale, and my eyes turn to saucers, and I'm like, I've got that weird vibe again. And the girl I was with said, close the curtains. So I turn around and I'm closing the curtains where this thing is right behind it. Oh my God. And we actually sat there for, I don't know, it was like 45 minutes or so, just trying to recount all the things that happened. And as we're trying to do this, it was like a symphony going on in the room. Bang, crash, boom. It sounded like someone was taking a hammer to the radiator. Bang, bang, bang. And then we're hearing crashing coming from her room next door. Nobody was there. All these weird things. And every so often, both of us would just stop talking and look at the door and just look at each other and go, uh-oh, it's back. And you could just feel that horrible, negative, intrusive vibe just hovering over us. And whatever it was, it did not want us talking about that. Because every time we'd really get into that vibe would come back. And it was like, no, shut up. You're not allowed to talk about this. But we we powered through it, and we tried to get through all the weird things, but oh my God, it would take hours and hours and hours to get through every bizarre thing. And that was only at that time, that's only one subject of those, whatever they were. Like, you call them watchers, dark watchers, guardians, jinn, archons. I don't know what they are, but there's a particular energy to them that I've never encountered before, ever, anywhere. And I'm noticing more and more that people are coming forward and talking about them, where they're encountering them in the woods everywhere. That feeling, that feeling of being watched, that dark energy, feeling of danger, feeling that you're about to be killed, and you can't really explain it because normally you cannot see anything. I can remember shining a flashlight right there, right where I'm hearing the noise, a couple of feet away from me, and you couldn't see anything, but you could feel it. And there was that same night that her and I were running like sissy girls back to the hotel room, and we both put our heads together as a joke. We were like ah, and there was a little gap between our heads, and you can actually see this tall, lanky thing walking behind us. Tall, lanky, long arms, long leg thing just walking behind us. And I knew there was something running behind us. I knew it. I could feel it. So that's another little confirmation that there was definitely something there. And I don't think it was one thing. I think it was like being on live theater. Every time you went outside, it felt like they were everywhere, just watching you. And I don't know, maybe they're guardians of a portal, maybe they're guardians of an entrance to something, because there's all sorts of rumors about entrances to underground temples and entrances to the underground, whatever. There's all sorts of crazy rumors there. So it's really hard to know what you're dealing with, especially because nobody will talk about this. And you can't even broach the subject with people that live there because they don't want to talk about it.
No, they don't. They don't, and they won't. And
no,
yeah, definitely.
Or they laugh in your face and
oh, it's the boars.
It's the wild boars, and I'm like, no, it's not. But it's funny that the same people that say it's the wild boars. One night I was sitting outside, and it was starting to get to that bewitching hour, and I sat down, and I heard the strangest noises, like really loud. I can't even describe, just like screeching and like 2 or 3 things just at a fever's pitch screaming. I was like, what the hell is that? And I'm like, I actually sat down and opened up my computer because I was desperate to tell people I was still alive. And one of the owners came bolting out of the door with this look on their face like, what are you doing? What are you doing out here? It's not safe. You have to go back inside now. Go to bed now. And I was like, oh, okay. I run back to the room, lock the door. I'm like, okay, that's weird. But then later on, oh, no, it's perfectly safe outside. It's fine. I'm like, really? Okay, right. So a bit of conflicting stories. Maybe they're not allowed. I don't know. I don't want to pass judgment, but I really feel that people need to know that, because normally wherever people might live, you can take a walk at night. You can go for a walk at night and you're perfectly safe. Well, at least I think you are. I used to think you were. But there, you don't see one local out at night.
No, you don't.
They are inside. The drapes are closed. The doors are locked. The blinds, everything's closed up for the night. And you never see anyone out. As soon as the sun starts to go down, everybody vanishes. And it's almost like, people know. You don't go out at night there. And I find that very bizarre. But, I think people who go there as tourists should probably know this, because God only knows what could happen if you are in the wrong place at the wrong time and these things get really angry. the ending will be a happy tale because they are very, very powerful.
Not even that, but the people too.
Oh, well, you want to go there? Do you want to go with the people? You and
You had more experience with. Well, I've had people too, but yeah, but you had a
no,
little bit more intense than I did.
we both had. Okay, now when you start saying things like I was being followed, you start sounding a little nutty, but I'm telling you, I've spoken to many, many people and people mostly who are in the research world, not just tourists, but people that do research. Everybody gets followed there. It's a known fact. And I mean, everywhere we went, there was somebody or two somebodies. You're in the middle of a field, like you want to talk about the plateau. I had some really strange things happen there.
Yeah.
The first time we went with the first group I was with, I mean, I was blown away by how I felt there. I couldn't even describe the feeling that I had when I was there. Like, oh my God. Words couldn't describe. I hate saying the energy because it sounds like all new agey and stuff. But yes, the energy. I'm sorry, but
it is.
what do you want me to call it? When I got pulled by the tractor beam into that into the pine V, that triangle thing, it's like the bloody Bermuda Triangle. I got sucked into that. I heard water, like a waterfall, was right. It was deafening. The water was so loud, and I kept having the. Oh my God, this sounds crazy. I kept having visions of the Garden of Eden. And not visions, but just it kept coming into my head when I was inside that thing and you're hearing like all these weird like wom wom noises and you're just like in this bubble of weirdness. And Garden of Eden, Garden of Eden. And this was the second time. I'm sorry. It was the second group I was with. And I was with another girl and we both picked up on it, which was weird. And as we were coming out, we saw a little apple tree, which I thought was hilarious. And as we're coming out of the V, kind of being reborn once again, everywhere we looked, both of us, we saw red snakes. Now, they weren't there. It's hard to explain. They were like apparitions of red snakes all over the ground. We were freaking out. We're like, what the hell is going on? There's red snakes everywhere. So why we would have this mass hallucination of red snakes, I don't know. Then we went over to the tower, Elizabeth Van Buren's tower, and we were just moseying around, checking out the tower after the red snakes decided to leave. For people who haven't been there, that is a huge open space where you can see a very long distance. And out of nowhere, we didn't hear anything, we didn't see anything, but out of nowhere, 3 people on horseback just appear galloping flat out towards us. And we're like, what the heck did they come from? Oh my God. And they're galloping 100 miles an hour and they come flying up to us and they all had this look of, oh my God, are you okay? Are you girls okay? Like, I think so. Like, are we? Maybe we're not. I don't know. And they said, okay, well, we're just really worried. We wanted to come and check on you. We're like, no, we think we're okay. Okay, well, you girls be very careful up here. Be careful. I'm like, okay. And then we kind of looked at each other like, oh, what is going on? And they just turned around and started galloping off again. And then we turned around again and they were gone. Now we're talking about a huge open space. It's like, where did they go? Oh my God. It was so bizarre. Oh my God. So that kind of stuff happened a lot. But oh God, the guy. There were so many guys. Where do I start with the guys? We went to this restaurant in the town in Rennes-le-Château for dinner. It seemed like a normal thing to do, but no, it couldn't be normal. Why would it be normal? No, something really weird had to happen. So we're sitting there and all of a sudden, both of us just went, oh my God. And we both felt that same feeling basically as when we saw those creepy things. But this was in the form of a man walking into the restaurant. And we were just like, oh my God. I don't know what his deal was. I don't know. what he was. But no, he wasn't right. And he sat down right in front of us. And oh my God, oh my God, the weirdness began. The girl we were with, she was in the room next to us, and we invited her to come along. I can't say what she was saying because it's just a little too vulgar, but she started screaming at the top of her lungs some of her peculiar sexual preferences, and we're both just like, "What are you doing?" And we're like, "Shut up!" But this only started when this creepy guy walked in. And both of us felt that, not her, but myself and the other girl were like, we're going to pass out. We felt like we were drugged. We couldn't breathe. We felt like we were going to pass out. So we knew we had to get out of there right away. So we paid the bill really fast. And as we're leaving, we see that he's right on our heels. It's like, oh man, are you kidding me? Now it's pitch black in that creepy little town. I mean, it's not don't get me wrong. I love that place. During the day, it's fabulous. At night, not so much. There's nobody anywhere. It's just like a ghost town, right? So the three of us are motoring, like practically jogging to the car in the parking lot, and he's right on our heels. I'm like, oh man, do I have to beat this guy up? Because I have no trouble taking him out. So I'm ready to just haul off and belt him one. So we jump in the car, and I said, don't turn on the engine. We're not going anywhere until he leaves. So we're sitting there, and he turns on the engine, or we're watching, and we're all sitting there, and we're waiting. And it was about 20 minutes. And even at one point, he turned off his engine too. I'm like, oh, this is just great. So we're just sitting there like, this is fabulous. He's probably a serial killer. So finally, I'm like, we're not moving. We're not moving until he leaves. So finally, he turns on his engine and he leaves. And we waited again about another 10 minutes, hoping that he actually left. But no. So like 10 minutes later, we go flying down the hill down to our hotel. And I'm videoing everything, talking about everything, blah, 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 blah. And we get to the hotel. And again, this is in the middle of nowhere. There's no street lights. It's black. And we see headlights. As soon as we pulled in, I'm like, oh my God. He followed us all the way from the restaurant. And he pulls into the hotel parking lot. And everyone else took off. And I was standing in the parking lot, and I was, I don't know, I'm a little feisty, I guess. I'm a Scorpio. And I was like, hey, and I go running after the car, and my fists are drawn. I'm like, I'm taking you out, buddy. And I don't mean for dinner. And I went running after him, screaming, and he just put the car in reverse and was like, ah! And then he took off. And I'm like, I'm literally, if I'd had a car of my own, I would have chased him down and run him off the road. I was so angry. Like, what a creepy, awful thing to do. That is not okay. That is not okay anywhere. But there, no, that's really not okay. And especially because my phone didn't work. There's no phones in the room. It's far away from the main house. If something happened, if that creep came back and smashed the window or whatever, nobody would hear this. Mm-mm. You know, you don't get a sense that you're really protected there, especially when you're there in off season when there's nobody else around. It's like a ghost town. So I was really, really off put by that. And so, I mean, 4,000 creepy things happened in between that. But the following night, we go to a different restaurant and kind of making jokes like, when we see the creepy guy, that's it. Like, this is just too much. And we go in, everything's fine. 5 minutes later, creepy guy shows up. It's like, you have got to be kidding me. And he actually showed up, and he sat there and just stared at us. And I want to make sure that people understand, this was not in oh, I want to come over and talk to you, or, oh, I want to get to, no. There was no attempt at talking to us. It wasn't like Mr. Flirty. We actually thought he was an assassin. That's the vibe he was giving off. Now, why would he be an assassin? I have no idea. But if we weren't followed everywhere else, it wouldn't have been as bad. But he just happened to be, I don't know, really bad at following people. But he was new on the job or something. He was a trainee. I don't know, but he sucked at what he did. This time, he didn't follow us back to the hotel, probably because he was terrified of me. But the same thing happened where we both felt, and I'm not saying that, I'm not implying that anyone drugged us. I'm saying that that energy that was coming off of this situation was so noxious that we both felt once again like we were like passing out. We're like, we've got to get out of here. And we had a really horrific night that night. I actually went into anaphylactic shock. That's something else that I wanted to talk about, was the journey that you go on in this place. And we're going to get into this a lot more. But I felt as though I was being actually forced to remember traumatic memories that I had blocked out from many, many years ago that I guess I needed to remember, but they were so traumatic that I actually went into anaphylactic shock. And kind of lucky that I didn't die, because getting an ambulance there would have been interesting. But I was literally forced to face traumatic things that I literally had no idea that happened to me. We're talking horrible, horrible things that happened to me. And that's where I think you and I, after talking about this so much, got the feeling that this is something like an initiation where you go through these really dark phases and you have to face your worst fears in order to come through that into the light again. Yeah. And I really feel that that's what was happening, because I don't know why I was forced to remember those things at that particular time. But I did, and it was horrible. And even to the point where I don't have any recollection. I have some recollection, but it was like, once again, I was drugged. Everything was dreamy and weird, and it was almost like I was in a trance. Like, what is that? I don't understand. Never. This isn't Club Med, by the way, guys. If you're looking for a regular vacation, this is something very different. So this was an adventure, but
it was more like a journey.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was journey through. It was sort of like Dante's Inferno, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 7 circles of hell. And again, I want to really emphasize that this is my favorite place in the world.
Yeah.
We're not dissing this place.
No,
We
we're not.
love this place. But
go back. We would definitely be going back.
I wanted to live there. That's another thing. When you go there the first time, you have to sort of be prepared that you're going to want to go home, sell your house, sell everything you own, and move there. Because that happened to me both times, 2012 and 2015, where I was obsessed with moving there, being there. It really entrances you. It's like it puts a spell on you practically, where you're like, I must live there.
One thing that hit me when I was in the church was, I don't know how I'm going to go home and go back to my normal life. I don't know how that's going to happen, because things have changed.
But I got through it. I didn't end up moving there, but and I think that might be for the best. I'd rather just go and visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I honestly don't know how people do that at night, living there all the time. I couldn't do it. If you have to go somewhere at night or whatever, your car breaks down. Oh my God. That's what I wanted to say, that we're not dissing the place or trying to deter people from going there. I would highly recommend, but if you have a draw, if you have a calling, because some people, they learn of the place like I did, you did, and immediately I knew that I had to go there, and I knew that my life would be changed. But that's not going to be for everybody. There's people that are going to go there that'll just have a really nice time. Mm-hmm. They'll go there, they'll have great food, great wine, they'll see beautiful landscapes and mountains and waterfalls and old ruins, and they'll go home and have great pictures, and it'll be wonderful. That's not going to happen to everybody, though. If I don't know, I can't explain 100% what that is, why some people have life-altering experiences there when some people don't. And I think that's why maybe certain people are skeptics, because they're like, well, that didn't happen to me. That's a bunch of malarkey. Well, it's not going to happen to everyone. It's just, I don't know. I can't explain it, but I knew from a very early age that whatever answers I was seeking, I was going to find them there. And there's something I wanted to talk about, the healing aspect of it. Like, not as negative. But one thing I don't want to get into in great detail, but I do have a very rare illness that I've been suffering from for many years. And many years ago, I was accepted into a protocol at the National Institute of Health. And actually in the same department that Fauci runs, which is really weird. So I would go there and they would do, well, tests and experiments on me and whatnot, which is really fun. But the oddest thing happened, and you're going to see why I'm talking about this. I hadn't traveled in years. I was very, very sick. And I was told I was dying, basically. And vacations were not an option. And when I was in the operating room, they were prepping me for bone marrow biopsy. The head doctor, super nice guy, I called him Dr. Dreamy. He was just making casual conversation because I think he knew I was a bit nervous because I go into anaphylactic shock when I have bone marrow biopsies. I'm so much fun to be around. Life of the party. So he was making casual conversation and he said, "So are you planning on going on any vacations?" And I looked at him kind of like, are you serious right now? I said, "Well, I would love to if I could walk." So he was like, well, if you could, where would you go? And I said, "Oh, there's this place in France I'm dying to go to," literally. And he said, "Oh, really? Where?" And I said, "Oh, you've never heard of it. It's a tiny little town in the south." And he says, "No, tell me the name." So I said, "Oh, okay, Rennes-le-Château." And everybody got quiet. They all looked at each other. And he looked at me and he got in really close and he said, "Leslie, you have to go there." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I would love to." I'm like, "But why?" And he said, No, you don't understand. You have to go there. It's going to heal you." Now, I'm in the National Institute of Health. It's one of the top research facilities in the entire world, okay, in Bethesda, Maryland. And he's telling me I'm basically getting a doctor's note to go to Rennes-le-Château. I'm like, this is cool. So he was insistent. And when I woke up, he was literally in the room staring at me. And he's like, "Do you remember our conversation?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he said, "You have to promise me when you get home, you're going to book that flight and you're going to go there. You have to. And don't wait." And I was like, what the heck? So I found that very, very bizarre. So I wasn't able to travel at that time, but in 2012, I think that was 2011. In 2012, something very bizarre happened to me. What a surprise. I ended up going on a very spontaneous trip in December of 2012 for the first time there. It was my first vacation, if you want to call it that, whatever, living fairy tale, whatever. And I felt 100%, I mean, I wasn't, but I felt 100% cured when I was there. I was running around like a teenager. My pain level was almost down to nothing. Everything was different. I felt like a new person. And I can't explain it. It was miraculous. My family could not believe it. My mother was literally crying. I was like, I'm running around and I'm climbing mountains and I'm going everywhere. And they're just like, "Oh my God." So there's something there. It may not happen for everyone and it may not last, because for me, unfortunately, it wasn't long lasting, but I got this amazing reprieve from pretty awful symptoms and I can't explain it. It was amazing. So there is something very, very positive as well. You've got that duality of that light, that healing, that energy that is literally, I felt like my soul was jumping out of my body. It was so powerful when I first got there in 2012. And to go from that, where literally you can reach out and touch the light coming down from the sky, it's so amazing. And then to go to the nighttime, when the sun goes down, you go to such an extreme darkness where you've got all the creepy things and the terrifying vibes and feel like you're going to get killed at any minute and creepy guys following you and all that jazz. It's just two extremes. And I find that fascinating. But in 2012, I didn't have any negativity. I didn't feel that shift. I was in a constant state of bliss from the moment I landed in Toulouse till the moment I left, crying because I didn't want to go. It was just a very different experience. but I was pulled to go back to finish what I'd started. And we've talked about that, you and I.
Yeah, we have.
You're on a journey and you're going to be pulled back there over and over and over again until you get to where you have to go, I guess. I felt that incredible high, that incredible positivity. Just every day was just, oh my God, this is the best day of my life. Woohoo. And then to, oh my God, we're all going to die. And literally. And we went through that darkness. It's almost like you're in a tunnel getting sucked through. And there's that light, that little pinprick at the end there. And all of a sudden, oh, I'm out again. That is life changing. I have never been the same. I haven't been the same person since I got back in 2012. Everything about my life has changed since the first time I went. And there's no going back. You have to be ready. I mean, if you're kind of happy with your life the way it is, don't go there, because everything will change. Right down to, like, I'm a poet and I've been writing poetry since I was a child, and I always had the same style of writing. All of a sudden I come back from there, I don't even recognize how I write anymore. I don't write in the same style. I don't use the same vocabulary. I don't write about the same topics. Everything is different. I can't even describe it. Every aspect of my life has changed. And I really feel, I mean, I'm a vegetarian now. I seem to have adopted that Cathar mentality a lot, big time. That was a huge, huge influence on me from the beginning, was the Cathars that we haven't talked about yet. But, oh my God, that really got into my soul. It always was in my soul, but when I went there, it really got into my soul. When I went to Montségur for the first time, oh my God. I mean, I've been to a lot of places in my life, but like everything we're talking about with Rennes-le-Château and the light and the amazing healing and then the creepy stuff, well, what I went through there was a completely other story. It's just a completely different place. It's like a different planet, basically. I mean, wouldn't you agree that the energy is
About Montségur? Oh, yeah. It is completely different. It is a different energy when you go there. It's absolutely, I can't even explain it. There's no words to explain the energy from the village to the sacred mountain. There's just no, like I said, I don't have any words to explain the differences between those places.
I can't even explain why before I ever went there, when I would see pictures of the mountain, I'm getting all weepy. I would literally start to cry.
Yeah.
And that's ridiculous.
To a place that you never, I know how you.
I'd never been there before, and I'm not trying to sound melodramatic or anything. I just felt this incredible pull. And forget hearing about what happened with the Cathars, the whole story. It's just so bloody awful and tragic. It makes me very angry. I got to work through the anger with that. I understand I have a problem, but I'm very angry with what the Catholic Church did to the Cathars, because they were very good people. They were les bonhommes et les bonnes femmes, the good men and the good women. They were great people. I feel an incredible connection with them, and I don't know, I can't explain it, but I'm sure you can agree with this. Going there, looking at a picture is one thing. Going there and doing that pilgrimage. And I never thought I was going to make it to the top. I looked at that mountain for years and went, yeah, right. Me, climb the mountain. The first thing that everyone asked me, they're such smart asses. Everyone asked me, yo, you climbed that mountain? Were you wearing high heels? I'm like, oh, you really? No, I wasn't wearing high heels. But I could have done it in high heels, I'm thinking. But I actually climbed it. And taking into consideration the fact that I'm battling this disease and mobility was an issue for me for quite a while, and even is sometimes still, I climbed a mountain. All I can say is I have no regrets. It sounds horrifying, but I really feel that it was a positive. Well, it didn't all sound positive, but in the grand scheme of things, it was an initiation. We didn't know that going in, but it was an initiation. And I think we were both really lucky to have made it through to the other side.
And actually grow from it, grow from that
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, I don't think that I would be the person I am now. I haven't even gotten into all the things. Later, we'll talk about what happens when you get home, because that's a whole other kettle of fish. But I mean, it just the visions and the weirdness and the premonitions and oh my God, the stuff just kept happening and happening for years after. Very strange things, but it was a growth thing. I mean, I can't really describe it. There's so many weird things that happened. I don't know, and I don't even know if we're capturing the actual terror, because one thing I wanted to say, and I think you're going to definitely agree, is there's no way to describe the feeling. No one in the world could tell us that that didn't happen. No one can say, oh, that was just blah, blah. No, it wasn't just blah, blah, blah. When you feel that terror and you feel, oh, for God's sakes, my cat just jumped on the fridge. Really? Are you serious? Are you kidding me right now? Goose, you're terrifying. He's looking at me like he's going to eat me. What are you doing up there? He knows I'm recording. Hey, creepy, get down. Oh my God, he should be doing the show. He's just, if you could see his face right now, oh my God, he's such a creepy cat. Where was I before I got rudely interrupted? You can't describe the that feeling that your life is actually in danger.
Yeah.
And it seems like it plays tricks with your mind, because it doesn't make any logical sense. Because, I mean, you're hearing things, you're hearing the actual crunching and the breaking and everything, but you can't actually see the manifestation, well, usually, of what's making all that noise, but you know that your life is actually in danger. Nobody will ever be able to convince me otherwise, that there isn't something monumentally bizarre going on in that whole region, in the whole fringe, that just cannot be described. I don't know. And I guess there's other places, there's Skinwalker Ranch, and there's other places that are like that. I just have never been to them. I've lived in horrifyingly haunted houses where, I mean, I had life-threatening things happen. Like, my neck was nearly broken a few times, but it didn't feel like this. This felt different. It felt ancient.
Yeah, it is very ancient.
Ancient.
That energy that popped up, ran after, came towards me. That was very, very ancient energy. And
Oh yeah. Oh
whatever
yeah.
it was that you just can't, you're right, you can't explain. There's no words to explain that feeling. And for people, witnesses, people that are there with you, to stop at the same time talking and feel that there is something that's scaring you, that you're being watched, you're gonna, I mean, that I've never seen that happen before. Normally it's
No.
like one person that, then finally, but no, for everybody to stop talking.
Yeah. At the same time,
we
just
start
go,
looking
what?
around. Yeah.
That. Exactly.
No, it's
No, you can't explain that away. And I know skeptics will do everything in their power to, no, it wasn't. I'm so done with skeptics. No,
but they're good. They're good because they do help you.
Uh,
It's good to have a skeptic with you, but it's when the skeptic changes. Like we had a skeptic a couple of times.
I was married to a skeptic years ago, and I will never forget the night, I should say, the first time he saw a ghost. Oh my God, I wish I had a camera for that. The look on his face, like priceless, And the night that he came running down the stairs in his underwear screaming because a witch was attacking him in the bedroom. Oh my God, not enough money. I was so happy. So yeah, I love it when skeptics get converted.
Yeah,
But
yeah, and it was life-changing for them because they never experienced things like that. And I know that I got a wonderful letter from one of the skeptics that she said, even though she had gone through all of these things over there in the group and all this, had happened, she said she wouldn't change it for the world because it did change her. It was life changing, and it made her realize that there are bigger things out there. There are things out there that we can't explain, but they do exist. And now she knows that they exist. And I think it's gotten her into the paranormal even more so. And but this is a woman that's a politician in Washington,
Right.
D.C. That
Right.
logic is all the way. But
Yeah.
when that happened, that actually changed.
That's amazing.
Hmm.
And I think that area is like a teacher, you know?
It is, yeah, it is the teacher. But I want to emphasize on getting back just to being followed by a human being, that it is important that you are aware of your surroundings over there because,
Yes.
like Leslie said, you do have lots of people that tell you that they do get followed over there, and people
All the-
have had confrontations with the followers,
Yes.
But we, in the group in 2013, I mean, and in 2017, 2018, when I went over there, even when I was there in 2004, I mean, we were being followed. But when you get followed all the way from one airport to another,
No, that's ridiculous.
that's extreme.
Yeah.
And this gentleman followed us throughout the whole time. Or it was him and another person, or him. And you're being followed when you get to Madrid and you see that person, going down the aisle with you. And when you realize, this guy has followed you from Toulouse all the way to Madrid,
That's
where you're going to
insane.
catch your other plane. But when you turn around and you look at him and he makes out like, he's bending down to tie a shoe that has no shoestrings, this guy doesn't know what to do. He's been caught.
He was a trainee again. He was probably in the same program as my guy. Yeah, not good at his job apparently. Oh my God, that is so bizarre.
Yeah, but he disappeared after that, and we didn't see him on the plane in Madrid, and we didn't see him get off when we got to Dallas. But
Thank God.
yeah, it was.
But it makes you wonder.
Absolutely bizarre.
We've had this conversation. It's why? Why? And what is their budget, whoever they are, to have every single person followed? That's a pretty good budget.
They must get paid pretty well to do that, because I really don't know the rhyme or the reason of why these people want to follow you. I mean, do they think you've found the secret? Do they think you've found the Holy Grail? Did they think you found the Ark of the Covenant? I don't know.
Well, I did, by the way. Don't tell anyone though. It's a secret. I did. No, I brought it back in my suitcase.
I'll have to see that when I go visit you.
Yeah, I got it all on video.
But you know what I'm saying here. You cannot understand why these people are being followed and why.
And so many people I talk to. So many people I talk to say, "Oh yeah, everywhere we went, we have a joke about white vans." Oh my God.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then I look in my video, even from 2012, which I was way too happy to be noticing anything. And every place there's a white van, there's a white van, there's a white van. I'm like, oh, there's a weird guy that I never noticed. Oh, look, there's a weird guy staring at us. Everywhere. It's
nonstop, But what was really strange about 2013, it didn't really happen in 2017 or 18. I mean, we were followed in the country that, in France, but in 2013, there was something different about that one, because we actually continued to be followed even when we got home. And that continued on for like 2 or 3 weeks. And I don't know if they thought that, I mean, because, one of the guys was calling me, and one of the women were calling me and telling me that they knew they were being followed by a certain vehicle, and it was either a black car or a gray car, but it was the same plate, the same 2 guys in the car. And even I was being followed up. There was a gray car sitting outside, our house with 2 men in it. And, I had a witness to all of that. So, I don't know. I really don't know, but you really got to be careful, and you really make sure that you watch what's going
Yes.
on
And
around you
also,
when you do
I
go.
I also want to say something about, especially women who think it's okay to go over there alone with no
Oh,
plan,
yeah.
no rhyme or reason. Guys, no, no. You have to, you have to have a game plan. You can't just go over there all haphazard. And no, you can. It's not like back home. It's not like Club Med. This is a very different place, and it has very different energies there, and it also attracts a lot of very bizarre people.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, hello. There's some pretty weird people that are drawn there. And I mean, I'm not saying that I've ever encountered, well, that weird guy that followed us, but I've also met a lot of wonderful people. I want to just say that. You got to be careful wandering around, especially alone. And I know that some of the things that we did, just, two women trotting around in the middle of nowhere, that could possibly be dangerous. It could be anywhere, though. I mean, anywhere that could be dangerous. But that place is just a little bit different.
Hmm.
And and you do have to be aware of your surroundings. And if you notice that there's somebody on your tail, you got to be careful. I mean, there was a few times where you could not explain away why those same guys were here and there and there, and yet how did they get there so fast, and why are they here? And oh my God, it's
Yeah,
just
and it's like it was like that around, everywhere you went, Carcassonne, everywhere. You saw these people, and you're
in the middle of
wondering,
a field.
yeah,
We were
you
at Bugarash at the lake right beside it, and there was nobody for miles around. It was off season. It was abandoned practically. And the second we got there and sat down, a guy shows up and sits down right beside us.
Mhm.
Dude, like really, right here, and just pretending to be enjoying the weather. It's like, no, you're not. Off you go. Tut tut. So yeah, it's intimidating a little bit, and it's also frustrating because I find that very intrusive and annoying.
Even the wonderful people that you've met over there, every wonderful person I met would always tell us just to be careful.
Yeah.
Don't go doing going anywhere at night. And it wasn't, it was, I think, coming from both angles. Be careful who you're talking to, and then also to be aware that there's something going on here. I mean,
Oh,
we were told a really weird story. Um, there was an area around this bend. It was close to Puvert, and you go around this big bend, and there's it's in the forest area, but it's a high kind of cliff area, and you go around the big bend, and those roads over there are 2-lane roads, and you've got to be real careful because these people drive like crazy over there.
oh yeah.
And apparently around that bend there had been several major horrible accidents that happened, and apparently the local people around there, who are very superstitious, believe that that area was cursed. And
Oh,
even when we were going around the bend, uh, the the person that was driving us, um, they were doing all kinds of things to try to keep us safe so that we could go around that bend, and we did, thank goodness. But they had told us that a lot of bad things had happened. So finally, what happened was I don't know who they were. It was a group of people from different villages around there got together, and did some kind of clearing. Finally, got together and did some kind of clearing around that bend, to make it more positive, so that people wouldn't die over there anymore. Because the last accident was horrific. They had to get in care flight just to pull these people out of there.
oh,
But anyway, so after they did that, everything seemed to change. The energy changed, and they seemed to be, everybody seemed to be all right, and there was no more accidents after that. And so it's obvious. It's obvious that these people understand that there's something going on there, and
Yeah.
they are fully aware that they, these things need to be cleared. And
Yeah.
I've heard stories that people have been asked to go clear certain things like at Montségur or Rennes-le-Chateau or even Rennes-les-Pons or whatever. I've heard, people saying that, I was asked to do this, I was asked to do that. So, you do
Yeah.
know that the people know there is something going on there, and they know but they just don't. I think it's more of a fear that they don't want to talk about it because they're afraid it's going to come after them,
Yeah, there's definitely a vibe there of, you know, don't tell, just, don't talk, don't tell, don't ask. They're very tight-lipped, and they just don't open up very easily about that kind of stuff. And I think there's also a little bit of mistrust with foreigners, because I think there's been a lot of crazy foreigners that have shown up there and done some really
Yeah.
stupid things. So I don't blame them for that, because there's a lot of crazy, stupid people that, I'm sorry, but have done some very dumb things over there. So I get that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's very true.
Yeah. So I get the sort of trepidation, but it is kind of hard to find anyone that'll just be totally open about, oh yeah, yeah, this happens and that happens, and no, they'll deny it, or they'll just kind of laugh and walk away, like so many people have done to me. Oh my God, no, like no,
You've
don't
done
do
the
that.
same to us, yeah.
Yeah, no, don't do that. No, don't act like I'm the crazy one in the scenario, because I know it's happening. And God, I thought of one story that I wanted to share that was so. This was funny. Okay, this is not, well, depends who you are, I guess. After all the dark things that happened, I just have to share one I find amusing story. When I was in Montségur, staying at that house where I got thrown across the room and broke my toe, the day I was leaving, we were packing up the room, and kind of relieved to be getting out of there, to be perfectly honest. I noticed that one of my rings was missing, that I had on the bedside table. And, my friend and the owner of the house were outside loading up the car. And we had looked for probably 2 hours and scoured the entire room for that bloody ring, and it was gone. Everything else was there, but that ring, the most expensive one, was gone. And I was pretty bummed about it. So I told the owner of the house as we were leaving, I said, look, if you find it by some miracle, can you just send it back to me? Oh, yeah, no problem. So they went outside again, and I heard footsteps upstairs. Normally, in a horror film, when that happens, you're screaming at the person, don't go upstairs. Well, I went upstairs. I just had this feeling. So I'm like, I hear footsteps. I'm going upstairs. So I hobbled up the stairs with my broken toe, and I went into the bedroom. And of course, it wasn't there. And I just said, and I literally said out loud, I lost my marbles at that point. I just said, look, that ring means a lot to me. Okay. I bought it for myself and blah, 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 blah. And it was a promise ring that I'd never, ever be in a horrible situation again. Da, 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 da. So I'm basically talking to myself. And then I'm like, oh God, I got to get out of here. I'm losing it. And I turn around to leave. And this is a tiny room, a tiny doorway, tiny upstairs. And I turn around to leave, and I feel this whoosh go by me. And I heard a noise, like a clutter thing behind me inside the room. And I spin around, and there was a sconce on the wall beside the bedside table that had a long pull cord, and it was going back and forth, bang, 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 bang. But the window wasn't open. There was no draft anywhere. And I look at the cord. I'm like, what the heck? And I look at the bedside table, and there is the ring in the middle of the table.
Mm.
And I let out a blood-curdling scream. Ah! And I'm like, thank you. I'm getting out of here. Ah! And I'm trying to run on my broken toe as fast as I can to get the hell out of there. I'm like, I found my ring. Ah! And we jumped in the car and did not look back. Zoom. So that was crazy. That ring was not there. I tore that room apart myself, and my friend did as well. So how that happened, I don't know. The owner of the house did say that there were fairies that lived in the house, and they were drawn to shiny things, and they sometimes stole things. So I don't know.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? I know. All I know is I got it back, and I was very happy, and I was happy to just get out of there. So that was weird, but it was a happy ending. So that was how I ended off. Well, no, that wasn't how the trip ended. I wish there's more to that story, but at least I got my ring back. But yeah, I mean, we literally could talk for about 94 more hours on this topic.
Yeah.
Is there anything
There's
else
so
you
much to
wanted to
say,
share?
but not that I think I could save all of it for another episode.
Yeah, I think we've probably gone way over our time limit now. So I think we've given a pretty good overview on some of the creepiness that happens there,
Mhm.
I would say. And
Well, I will say this again, and I know Leslie will agree with me, and I'm going to stress this: it's not just that area; it's everywhere. I mean,
yes,
the third group I took, we went to different places. We went to Foix and Mirepoix, and there was some weird things that happened in all those places, and so even I've heard from other people that even in Provence, there's some weird things that happen over there. So, that's
I think it's that whole area, and we didn't even talk about La Dent Blanche, the white.
no, that we
That's a
didn't talk about that.
we will save that for, and there's so much more. There's so much more to save.
There's
But
definitely so much more, and also too, I know that I don't know if Leslie's ever seen. I've seen pictures that people have actually took of shadow people, and especially
yes,
outside of Rennes-les-Bonnes, where they call it the seat of the devil, but it's supposed to be the seat of Isis, and
yes,
the moving rocks and all of that. In the area, somebody did take a picture of a shadow person standing by a tree, and they had no idea that it was there until it showed up on the camera, and it literally absolutely freaked them out, and they never wanted to go back in the area again. There are things. It's just all over, and I don't know if that area is such a power energy thing that it brings in, and we haven't even discussed like the UFO activity either. So I mean, but that's
well,
for
we
next
have
episode.
we're going to talk about Bugarash because that is a whole other kettle of fish.
Mhm.
That mountain has inspired Steven Spielberg to do Raiders of the Lost Ark and Close Encounters. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of movies that have been inspired by that little area that most people have never even heard of. It's kind of amusing. And we've never talked about Perlos,
No, we haven't.
Opul and
And that's
Perlos.
an interesting place.
That is
Yeah.
a whole, and that's quite further south, and that's a whole other world. I mean, it really, every little area has its own little identity and history and stories. And also, there's so many things. I mean, the Albigensian Crusade that happened there in the 13th century, you got to imagine, and plus there's so many wars, and I mean, the revolution, and so many things have happened there that I can only imagine that also adds to the paranormal activity there, the energy. But I think what we're talking about is an energy that is much, much older. It's ancient. I really get that feeling. And I wanted to mention, you said that when that thing ran towards you, it stopped and there was like this recognition.
Yeah.
I
And
actually,
I know that sounds weird, and
no.
it makes me uncomfortable sometimes to talk about, but I have to be honest, it was exactly like that. It was, we recognized each other's energy, and I don't know
Yeah.
what that was going on. I don't know what was happening there, but it left me
But
alone.
I had that same feeling when I was alone with it. The first few days, after a while, things leveled out a little bit, and I knew it was there. It obviously knew I was there, or it, or they, whatever. And I did feel that there was sort of like a mutual understanding, like, okay, you're cool, you're there, you're not wandering around. And I felt that there was this, you know, I'm going to leave you alone. And because there was that recognition in a weird way. But when my second travel partner showed up, because I had a few different legs of the trip and different people I was traveling with, when she showed up, she was very, very nervous. And that energy, energy manifests, like emotion will manifest there.
Mm-hmm.
If kind of understand that there's a weird thing where if you focus on something that you're afraid of, it will manifest. And when she started getting really freaked out, that energy changed, and there was no longer that kind of barrier where there was like, we're cool, we're cool. It was like, it was up in my face again. And I think that was just because the energy had changed so drastically to fear, 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 fear. Like she was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I kept saying, you got to calm down. You got to calm down. Like, you got to really control your emotions here because they will manifest.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you got to watch what you say. And, you can actually speak something into reality or think it.
Well, saying that, I saw a documentary with Travis Taylor, the astrophysicist that has so many different degrees, but the one that's working with the team at Skinwalker Ranch. And he said that they don't like talking about these things, these shapeshifters, skinwalkers, whatever. They don't like talking about it because what they've noticed is that it actually will come to their house. If they're not on the ranch, they're wherever they live, it'll follow them there. It'll appear, it'll come. And they've had a lot of activity, and he's married, he's got kids, and I'm sure he doesn't want that kind of activity happening. And apparently it has, and it's happened to the other people that. So yeah. I believe that. I believe that that's true. That these things will happen, and it's like putting a sense out into the ethers, and they're like, oh, okay, they're talking about us. Let's come and mess with them.
Exactly, and that's why I just want to say, when we finish doing this podcast, we're gonna just do a little cleanse and put a little positivity around us, a little protection around us, because we do not invite negativity into our lives. Mm-hmm. We do not invite the darkness into our lives. We're all about the light. But as we know, in order to embrace the light, you need to understand the dark, but we don't embrace the dark, and we don't want to invite that crap into our lives. So want to make that perfectly clear with anyone that's listening.
Yeah. And I've always taught my students that in order to understand the light, you have to understand the darkness. And it's true, because it goes hand in hand, even in Hermetic laws, it goes hand in hand. So you just, you just have to cleanse like we're going to do, and just, get yourself protected. And I completely understand what Travis is saying. I agree with that. Thought it was pretty cool that he said that, because here's a guy that was a skeptic from the beginning, and now he's not. He realized that there's something seriously happening over there.
Yeah, that's very cool that he said that, because I've actually experienced that. I used to suffer severely by sleep paralysis, and the worst maniacal kind, where I got the crap kicked out of me so often. And if I spoke about it, it would happen. And it wasn't just sleep paralysis, but it was the next level, where if I spoke about it, it would come. It would show up, and it would kick the crap out of me. So we can maybe talk about that another time, and then I don't know, take a bath in holy water or something. But definitely when I bring it up to people, and I noticed that other people, if I'd mention it, they would just be like, don't talk about it. No. Every time I talk about it, it happens. And yeah, so I'm well aware of that. So I've experienced it myself. So yeah, I agree. But I haven't experienced those things here. But I find like there's a connection. I don't know. I think all of it is somehow connected in some weird way. I don't know. The other side is somehow all connected. But we did want to put that out there that we do embrace the light, and we don't endorse any embracing of the darkness at all. Just want to put that out there. And I think on that note, what do you think, Lilith? Do you think we should maybe cap it off?
Yep, I think we're good on this episode.
Yeah, I think we've gotten our point across. So I would just like to say thank you very much for tuning in. We're really happy that you decided to join us, and hope you're not too creeped out. And please join us next time, because we've got lots more to share with you, and some even creepier stuff and cooler stuff and positive stuff and all sorts of stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so on that note, farewell, and see you soon.
Good night.
On a parting note, I wanted to say something. These type of experiences can be absolutely terrifying and can be emotionally traumatizing. If there's anyone out there who has had these kind of horrible experiences or other types of experiences in the paranormal realm, and you have nowhere to go, no one to share it with, this is a safe place. You can write in the comments, or you can even write us at our email, which we'll put in the box below. And if you're in agreement, we would love to read some of your stories in our future podcasts. And if you want to keep your name private, we would definitely do that for you. I think it's very, very cathartic if you've been holding on to a traumatic event. Some people have held on to them for years and they never told a soul, and it really haunted them. If you feel like you want to reach out, please know that this is a safe place, and we want to build a community of great people who are like-minded. We don't mind skeptic. If they're respectful, I'm cool with that. You can believe whatever you want. We're not trying to convince anyone of anything, but the key word is respect. We will not condone trolling and bullying. That will pretty much get you the boot. That might give people a sense of comfort knowing that they'll be well protected. We certainly hope that you tune in again soon. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. Please remember to like, subscribe, and tell all your friends. And be sure to tune in next week for another spooky episode of Delphian Realm. And remember to stay safe, my friends. It's a very spooky world out there.
Just a second. You get away from that bag right now. Yeah, you. I'm not going to ask you twice. Come here, creepy cat. Don't look at me like that. What a look. I just got a look. Okay, so
Hang on. Let me blow my nose. Hang on.